Visceral fat is silently destroying your health, and most people don't even realize they have it. Unlike the fat that you can pinch under your skin, visceral fat is the fat that wraps around your organs and will damage your health. But the good news is that you can burn it off. And if you know what you're doing, you can burn it off fast, all without endless cardio or crash diets. So in this video, I'm going to explain why visceral fat is so dangerous, how to tell if you have too much of it, and exact steps that you can take to start burning it off within the next 30 days. These are some of the same strategies I use to lose 21 pounds myself, and I've also used these same strategies with my clients to get great results like this, and this. So what exactly is visceral fat, and why should you even care? Well, visceral fat is the fat that you can't see. It sits deep within your body, wrapped around your pancreas, your liver, your intestines, and other vital organs, like a leech hanging onto your organs. Visceral fat is not the kind that just sits there and does nothing. It's active, damaging your blood vessels, poisoning your organs, and ruining your hormones. And with too much visceral fat, your body becomes the perfect playground for disease. Your risk of heart attack, stroke, and diabetes all go way up. And if that wasn't enough, visceral fat is also linked to certain types of cancer, dementia, and fatty liver disease. But that's not even what makes this the most dangerous type of fat. You can be slim and still have high levels of visceral fat, and there's a term for it called TOFI. Thin outside, fat inside. I had a client, wore medium-sized shirts, didn't look overly overweight, but his goal was to get in shape because he wanted to just look better at the beach, have confidence in his clothes. But when he got his yearly checkup done, he realized that he had high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and high blood sugar, even though he didn't look to be super overweight. He told me he would have never guessed that he was gonna have such bad blood work, because he didn't have a ton of weight to lose, he didn't have any obvious symptoms that he had all these things going on, and the visceral fat started to really freak him out. So just because you're not overweight, it doesn't mean you're 100% safe from visceral fat. Because the visceral fat gives no warnings. There's no pain, there's no tightness, there's no jiggle. You can feel fine until one day you have a diagnosis or you start to see symptoms start to stack up that makes you want to look further into your health. Before you go sprinting to the treadmill and trying to burn it off like you would any other type of fat, visceral fat doesn't quite work that way. You can't out-exercise visceral fat, because visceral fat is not a gym problem, it's a lifestyle problem. Your sleep habits, your eating habits, how stressed you are, how much you're moving throughout the day, how much muscle you have are all going to have a bigger impact on your visceral fat compared to you going to run an extra militude every day. So once you understand how your body actually builds visceral fat, you can reverse it fast. So let's break it down. The first big problem is a diet. This shouldn't shock you, but this is not just about how much you eat. It's about what you eat too much of. So things like ultra processed foods, sugary snacks, weekend binges, drinking on a regular basis, takeout meals, all taste great, but they're gonna spike your insulin and it'll be hard to keep your blood sugar in check. Then you have exercise of the wrong kind. Some people skip workouts altogether, and then you have another group of people that only focus on cardio, and they're doing so much cardio throughout the week, but they can still gain visceral fat. So why is that? Because this second group is doing nothing to build or maintain muscle, which becomes even more important the older that you get. Endless cardio with bad nutrition is the perfect recipe for lower muscle mass, a lower metabolism because you have lower muscle mass, and of course more visceral fat. But strength training reverses all of that. It protects your lean muscle or builds lean muscle. It improves your metabolism because you're building and maintaining lean muscle. It improves insulin sensitivity, and it burns visceral fat. Muscle is the key defense when it comes to visceral fat. Now we have to talk about one of the biggest causes of visceral fat, and it's something that is not always easy to control. Stress is one of the biggest reasons why people have visceral fat and they don't realize it. Stress isn't just a mood. Stress actually changes how your body works. When work is crazy, bills are piling up, kids are fighting at night when you want to go to sleep, it's not always easy to just say don't be stressed. Because of this stress, your body produces cortisol, which is a fight or flight hormone. And cortisol tells your body, we need to store fat because we need to prepare for danger. But the thing is that you're not fighting wild animals and trying to hunt for your food every day. You're dealing with modern problems, but your body still sees the stress the same way. And that's why when you're stressed, your discipline goes out the window. Your cravings go crazy. You want the pizza, the burgers, the sugary snacks, and the junk food, anything with high calories. And that's not anything to do with your discipline. That's just your body telling you we need to get as much calories and energy as we need because danger is coming. So being in that state of chronic stress is going to create chronic fat storage, especially around your belly. Then you have sleep. Most people think of health as nutrition, movement, and sleep as equal parts. But the more that I coach people and the more I even see in myself, sleep is not an equal part to nutrition and movement. Sleep is the foundation that everything else sits on. When you don't sleep well, your cravings go up, your hunger control goes down, your hormones are all over the place, your mood is all over the place. Now you can see that how this sounds very similar to being in a chronic state of stress because your body sees a lack of sleep as chronic stress. I'm sure you've experienced this before where you have one bad night of sleep and that next day is just not good. You're not in the right mindset. You don't really care about sticking to a plan. You don't really care about what you eat. You just want to feel as best you can as quickly as possible. And if you've been sleeping poorly for months or years, you can see how this is going to create a big issue when it comes to visceral fat. Then the one that no one wants to talk about is alcohol. Alcohol is basically liquid sugar with a bunch of consequences. When you drink, your liver stops fat burning completely because your body sees alcohol as a toxin, which it is. So it stops everything to try to get the alcohol out of your system. I'm not talking about slowing down fat burning. I'm not talking about taking it a little bit easy on fat burning. I'm saying it stops fat burning to take care of the alcohol first. And if you're drinking regularly, especially beer, you're directly impacting your visceral fat. That term beer belly does not come out of nowhere. Plus with drinking, you know your decisions aren't always the best. No one's gonna have a night out drinking and then wanna go eat a chicken salad. You end up skipping workouts, laying around, eating junk food. It's just not ideal. Now, I'm not telling you that you can never have a drink, but if you want to get rid of this visceral fat and burn it off as quickly as you can, taking a break from it for these next 30 days is going to help you out a lot. Okay, now that you understand how your body develops visceral fat, how can you tell if you have too much visceral fat? Because most people have no idea. The most accurate way to tell if you have too much of it is a DEXA scan, an MRI, or a CT scan. But let's be real, like you're not going to a hospital trying to order one of these scans because some dude from YouTube told you might have too much visceral fat. So let's be a little more practical about how you can see if you have too much visceral fat. According to the National Institutes of Health, you can do the waistline test. So you grab a tape measure and you wrap it around yourself around your belly button. If you're a man and your waist is over 40 inches, you most likely have high visceral fat. If you're a woman and your waist is over 35 inches, you most likely have high visceral fat. But waist alone isn't perfect, which brings us to the second part, which is the weight to height ratio. This one helps also because it accounts for your size. So your waist should be less than your height in inches. So for example, if you're 5'10", that means you're 70 inches. So you'll want your waist to be 35 inches or less. If you're over that 35 inches in this example, you have a high visceral fat risk. Then you have belly shape. Now, checking for a belly shape is not just for pregnant women that want to guess if they have a boy or a girl. It can actually give you a clue if you have too much visceral fat or not. If you have a round, tight, and hard belly, you most likely have high visceral fat. But if your belly is big and round, but it's still squishy and soft, you might not have as much visceral fat. It's still not the best situation to be in to have a big belly, but having a hard and a tight one is gonna be a lot more dangerous. Then energy and cravings. Now, this is one of the things that you'll just have to keep an eye on to see if you deal with it on a regular basis. So if you typically crash after your meals, if you crave sugar often, if you feel sluggish and have brain fog all the time, and you struggle to recover from your workouts, you can have an issue with visceral fat messing with your hormones and your insulin. Then you have your blood work. So if your blood work shows high cholesterol, high blood sugar, and high blood pressure, these usually go hand in hand with visceral fat. Not always, but they typically do. So now that I done got all the doom and gloom out in this video, how do you get rid of this visceral fat as quickly as you can? Because visceral fat responds fast when you do the right habits. So step one is to eat smarter, but not less. You don't need a crash diet. You don't need to cut out all your carbs. You just need a plan and you need structure around your meals. You want to make all your meals protein focused because protein does three things. It keeps you full, it protects your muscle, and it improves your metabolism. And most people undereat protein by a long shot. Then step two is to add fiber to each of your meals. Fiber helps to stabilize your blood sugar, which is extremely important in getting rid of that visceral fat. It helps to reduce cravings. It improves your digestion, so you're not in the bathroom struggling to go. It does a lot for your body. Then step three is to reduce the ultra-processed foods. Now, I know it's not always easy, especially you got kids that want to go out and things like that, and you want to eat with your family, but you want to try to reduce these foods as best you can because these ultra-processed foods are going to spike your cravings, your hunger, your insulin, which is going to cause you to overeat. The less of these that you have in your diet, the better your results will be. Then you want to cut sugary drinks. Not forever, but for the next 30 days, you can definitely do that because the sodas and the sugary coffees, the energy drinks and the fruit juices, they all are going to play with your blood sugar and your insulin levels and make visceral fat storage a lot easier. So the key to all of this nutrition is just to keep it simple. You don't have to go on Instagram and look for these complicated protein recipes. Simplify your meals as best you can. The next step is to strength train 3 times a week. Now this is the real secret weapon because most people who struggle with visceral fat are missing one thing, and it's muscle. Muscle is the #1 enemy of visceral fat. I know it's cool to look good and feel good, but this is about long-term health as well when it comes to building muscle. Because when you have more muscle in your body, you burn more calories at rest because your metabolism is higher. Your hormones will be in better shape. Your insulin sensitivity will also be better. Only doing cardio will not give you the same results. You don't need to be in the gym 5 or 6 days a week, because I'm not in the gym 5 or 6 days a week. You don't need 15 different exercises every time you go to the gym, and you definitely don't need to shock or confuse your muscles. Pick your core movements and build your routine around them. Then the next step is you want to walk every day. This might be the most underrated tool for fat loss, especially visceral fat, because walking lowers your cortisol, stabilizes your blood sugar, improves your metabolism, and it burns a good number of calories without increasing your hunger like some of those higher intensity forms of cardio do. I'm not going to tell you to start trying to get 10 and 15,000 steps a day when right now you only averaging 4 or 5,000. You want to do this gradually. Walking is the foundation for any fat loss plan that I give my clients, whether they have high visceral fat or not. It's just great for your body overall. Then your sleep. You want to try to sleep at least 7 hours. I'm sure you've heard this before, but it's extremely important. I always joke, I like to turn my room into a dungeon when it's time to sleep. I'm like a bat when it's time to go to sleep. Blackout curtains, keep the room cool. You want to get into as deep a sleep as you can. And you also want to try to regulate your bedtime. If you're going to sleep at 9 p.m. one night, 1 p.m. the next night, it's going to be hard for your body to start getting into a rhythm. So try to create a routine when it's time to go to bed. Then you want to manage your stress as best you can. You don't need to disappear to the mountains. You don't need a weekly spa day. You need something that you can do on a regular basis that doesn't cost you any money. I love strength training because it teaches your body to go under stress in a controlled manner and then bring that stress back down. Lifting weights is one of the best things that you can do. I will always say this for all kind of problems. Then the next step is to cut the alcohol for 30 days. I'm not telling you not to drink again, but if you want to get this visceral fat down, alcohol is going to stop you. So you need to cut it for at least these 30 days. And if you go for more than 30 days, you'll see that you probably don't need it as much as you think you do anyway. And it's okay to just drink casually when you go out with some friends here and there. But if you drink alcohol on a regular basis, you have to cut it if visceral fat is a concern to you. Then the last step is to be consistent, not to be perfect. This is the rule that makes everything else work, because you will mess up. You're gonna have days where you stress eat. You might have a drink. You might miss a workout. That's all normal, but just don't fall into that trap of I'll start over on Monday. If you mess up today, get back on track tomorrow. If you miss your workout today, make it up the next day. If you went over your calories and you had a little too much junk food today, that's all right. Get back on track the next day. Don't get into the cycle of every time you mess up, you feel like you have to start from zero, because life doesn't work that way, and fitness and your health goals don't work that way either. Now here's the truth. 30 days of effort can drastically change how you feel and how your body looks and how it operates. And you'll notice a change fast because, like I mentioned, visceral fat responds quickly when you have the right habits in place. But long-term results come from fitting these habits into your lifestyle. And if you want help with that, personalized workouts, personalized nutrition for your busy schedule, daily accountability, and someone that's actually there with you every single day to get you to where you want to be, then click the link below in the description to work with me. I'll show you exactly how to burn off this fat, how to feel more confident in your clothes, how to have more control and confidence over your health, and to build a body that you'll be proud of. Thanks for watching the video. I'll catch you on the next one.